Welcome to the Obsessed With podcast. We are your hosts, Kim and Erran. We've been together since 2007, and we are the co-founders of Travcest.
And we've also been full-time travelers since 2012.
That's right, crazy.
Which is insane. Join us here as we pull back the curtain with fun, juicy, and honest conversations. We're going to dive into all the things that you might be navigating too, like figuring out how to add more travel and adventure into your life, which PS, this is our specialty, navigating big transitions, relationships, and marriage, deciding whether or not kids fit into the picture in your 40s, and most importantly, how to create a life of freedom on your own terms.
Consider this podcast your official permission slip to unapologetically do life your way and be able to change your mind a million times along the way and know that you are not alone.
Our goal with this podcast is to create a fun, zero judgment, happy hour style space where we can all just hang out, have real conversations, and navigate all the life things together.
So grab a drink, settle in, and let the obsession begin.
Woo-woo!
Welcome back to the Obsessed With podcast. We are here with another episode. And again, please, before we get started, share this out with your friends, anybody that you think would enjoy this podcast about travel, relationships, lifestyle. If you have someone in mind, please share it out to them. It is a big help to us, and we would greatly appreciate it.
Flight crew, please prepare for departure.
Yeah, we are starting this podcast episode because it is our first episode of the week rather than the Obsessed With Travel Tuesday, but this is our first lifestyle relationship podcast on the Obsessed With, and we are starting it with a glass of wine.
No.
So, go ahead.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To Obsessed With.
Cheers.
Cheers. One more time because we have to make it a third.
Cheers.
Cheers to Obsessed With. And it's a Carmenere.
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 Uh-huh.
It's a delicious, can we just do like a shout out to Carmenere for a second?
We can.
Because it's a Chilean wine that we fell in love with when we were hiking the W Trek. We'd come back from a hike and like literally drink bottles of this.
Yeah.
Like not just us, but like a big group of people.
Yeah, it wasn't, just Kim and I in our
like
bunk room under the covers.
Slamming bottles.
Yeah.
Not saying that we wouldn't do that,
Yeah,
but
it's true.
And it's like a Pinot Noir, but a like buttery, silky, kind of like a Pinot and a Syrah mix.
Yeah, I would get that. But
right?
Yeah, I would get that from the taste, yes. But the originality, it was actually mistaken for a Merlot grape, which is cool because it was an extinct grape from France that came over, and the plague took out this varietal from France. And then some viticulturist was walking through Chile, a Chilean, what do you call it? The vineyard was Carmen, and the Carmen Vineyards or whatever. And he was like, "That's
the
not."
The owner's name was Carmen.
That's not a Merlot grape. And so Chile went out and realized they had something and registered it as a Carmenere just to get it on the registry so they could claim the grape. But technically, the origin is a lost grape from France.
A Merlot grape.
A Merlot grape.
Right?
Well, no, it's not a Merlot,
No,
but
we're
it was.
botching this
Yeah.
story.
Anyway, it came from France. It died in the plague, resurfaced in Chile. Now it's Carmenere.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Try it if you like Pinot Noir or Syrah or Merlot.
Yeah.
Give it a whirl.
Yeah, it's going to be in your Chilean section.
Yeah, they don't carry it everywhere, but if you see it, snag that bottle. Okay.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be fun to kick off the first episode. It's not the first episode, but the first official.
The first week.
With kind of throwing back or sharing, I guess, some of our stories, because we have some like crazy stories of when we have just been like, screw it all, listening to our guts. It doesn't make any sense. And one of us kind of having a crazy idea, bringing it to the other one's like, sure. And then going and like doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
And then realizing, wait a minute, what are we doing? Changing our minds and coming back. Because I think one of the things we really want to weave through in this podcast is being able to have permission to go after whatever it is you want. Like, whatever it is, even if other people think you're crazy or don't understand it, like being able to follow your heart, whatever that is. And if it doesn't work out, it's also okay just to change your mind and be like, cool, I gave it a try. It wasn't for me. Let's start over. Let's do something else. Let's change directions. And I feel like the stories we're going to tell in this episode are very much like aligned with that.
No, totally. Especially this episode, but this podcast, as we said, because whether, you know, your lifestyle or, you know, the way you live your life kind of aligns with Kim and I's or it doesn't, right? Like, we can all learn from each other's stories, and we all have things that we have in our lives that maybe people are like, well, you can't do that because of X. You can't do that because of Y. But like, if it means something enough to you, you can always figure it out. Marie Forleo always said everything is figure outable. And that's kind of one of Kim and I's big life standards is like, we might not know how, but we're going to try, and everything is figure outable, and we'll figure it out along the way. And either it's really great or it's not, but we'll never know unless we go. And that's kind of like, we always want to attempt it, see how it feels, play it out, like get all the real feels instead of just sitting on the couch talking about what it could be or couldn't be, or, oh gosh, pros and cons, weigh it out, I'm not really sure. You're not really going to know until you actually get in there and really see it.
100%. We always say that. You never know until you go, because you just don't. You just never know until you try something what you're actually going to think about it, how it's going to feel.
Yeah.
I think also, because we're partners, right? Like, we're married. So we're not just like solo people making our own decisions. Like, we're together trying to navigate all the things together. And so I feel like we've been super fortunate and aligned that we have really been on the same page with pretty much, okay, I'm not gonna say like we're on the same page with everything, but in this genre, I guess, of just like trying something new, switching things up, doing all these like different things, like we're both very much like open to kind of, yeah, like, let's give it a go. What do we have to lose? Like, we can always figure it out. We can always come home. We can always switch gears. We're very open and spontaneous when it comes to the direction of how we live our life and the life that we're creating. We're both willing to try a bunch of different things to kind of figure out, like, okay, we like this, we didn't like this worked, this we didn't, to really try to create this life that we want to live. And we both are kind of just like down for anything.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting, because it's like, if one of us was and the other one wasn't, I don't think it would work, to be honest.
Do you want to get into that a little bit?
Okay.
Or do you want to like go into the stories?
Okay, well, I feel like even this first story is kind of goes into play, right?
Well, I was just going to say, it was kind of funny, like when we were first dating, and as we were, you know, we had a long engagement, but like, my mom always said it. The one thing about you guys is the fact that like you're already like, what's it like?
Aligned.
Aligned in the direction that you both want to go. Mm-hmm. And she was like, that's very rare for couples that early, right? To have that. So that was something that was important to me. It's important to you, but it wasn't like everything Kim says I just kind of did, and everything I said Kim did either.
100%. No. And I'm talking more about just like the lifestyle choices that we're making in general, but versus just like we agree on everything. Right. Like we don't. But like when it comes to kind of just being spontaneous and trying things in our life, but even taking a, what?
Well, I'm just saying that's not always like, I don't know. What I was going to say is basically like what I love about you is I've always been, you know, I was raised kind of like structurally a little bit. So I was coming from kind of a structural standpoint. Number one, I'm not a big reader. I never was like really exposed. We talk about it all the time. I thought an entrepreneur was a person that owned a restaurant. That's what I thought, right? So you were always this like big, crazy freedom life, live for now and blah, blah, blah. And I remember just thinking like, oh my God, like we're going to spend all of our money. It's funny. And like, we're just going to live on the street and literally.
Live on the street?
Yeah, but like, that's what my brain was like, because it was just so out there at the time, right? Like way back in the day. But I always loved that about you. It was like a spark I never knew existed, right? And I think as we developed in our relationship, I learned to trust that spark within you. And it, even though my everything was like, I don't know, kind of being cautious, there was something in me that was like, no, I think she's onto something. And what do you, like, just give it a go. You know, I always felt comfortable with you. Hey, real quick, we hope you're loving today's episode, and we wanted to take a moment to keep you in the loop. If you work in healthcare, or you're a healthcare traveler, or you know someone who works in healthcare and is interested in fun adventure travel, you've got to know about our TravSays adventure trips. And listen, we get it. Working in healthcare can feel really demanding, overwhelming, and stressful. We spend so much time taking care of others that we forget to take care of ourselves.
So let us take care of you on a TravSays trip. Once you sign up for a trip, we literally take care of everything. The planning, the logistics, and all the little details. So all you have to do is show up, have fun, and make unforgettable memories with a group of like-minded, adventurous travel friends. This is your time to step away from the chaos, recharge, have some fun, and come back feeling like the best version of you. Everyone who comes on a TravSays trip says you come as strangers, leave as family. Literally. TravSays trips have sparked dozens of new friendships, adventure squads, and travel soulmates that last way beyond the trip.
And honestly, it's not about the places we go. It's about the amazing people you meet along the way. We personally plan every itinerary based on our own travel adventures, so we have been there, done that, and know all the best things to do and see that you would not find on your own. Plus, we've got some awesome local friends on the ground to help us make each trip extra fun, special, and totally unique. Our trips are for active adventurers who like to get out of their comfort zones and push their limits. And the best part? We keep our groups small and intimate so you can form real connections like really, really fast.
So if you're ready to ditch the planning stress, find your adventure crew, and travel like never before, head over to imtravsays.com and grab your spot on one of our next adventures.
That's imtravsassed.com.
Or you can send us a DM over on Instagram at Kim and Erran G.
That is KIMANDERRANG.
Just DM us the word adventure and we can chat more about it. You can also find our Instagram, our website. Everything is linked in the show notes below. Also, at the time of this recording, we have 3 spots left to join us in Oaxaca, Mexico in 2025, which honestly is one of our favorite trips. Yeah. So you can head over to our website, check that out. And we also have so many more fun adventures coming your way in 2026.
We cannot wait to see you on one of our life-changing trips. Now let's dive back into the episode.
Yeah, well, I feel, because what I was going to say was in the beginning. Okay, so we've been together 17 years at this point, at the time of this recording.
Since 2007.
Okay, that's insane.
Yeah.
And so we've been together a really long time. Okay, so we've gone through, like, we have been through chapters, like so many things as you do in a relationship, like it's a journey, but like all the way back. So I would say like majority, of this relationship has been open to the spontaneity and this and that. But the beginning, yeah, I remember like when we first got married and we got married, like we were together, you proposed after 6 months. We had 2-year, that's a whole nother story, which we can tell. Cause I love that story. Yeah. But we had a 2-year engagement and then we got married. So but I remember like in that time and we bought a house, you were the guy who was like, get that 401k and like
work your way up the ladder.
Yep. And we gotta like, pinch the pennies and
get the house
and get the house and do all that, like all the kind of the American dream thing that we think about, right? Like we gotta do all the things. You were very much like that, even though, because I'm over here like, let's go travel the world. And you're like, bro, like we can't even like order Domino's, like, and you want to like book a ticket and travel the world. Like, and it wasn't that you were it's not like you were like, I don't want to do that. Like, I love my home in Florida and I'm not leaving and blah, blah,
People
blah.
in Florida don't always talk like that.
Okay. But you get me drift. Like, it's not that you were just completely not open.
Yeah.
You were always open.
I didn't think it was possible.
You always wanted something different and something you felt stuck in this life and you wanted something bigger, but yes, you didn't know what that could even look like. So when I'm over here saying like, let's go do this and let's travel the world, you're just like, I zero idea how that's going to happen. Like I'm struggling, like we were just struggling to pay our mortgage and have anything left over. Like we would literally, like my stepdad lived with us for like a year. And he is just so great. Like, who does this? I want to know if like people do this anymore with their kids. Like, is this just completely out of like the world we live in now? But ever since I was little, he always had a jar of like Folgers, and he would put his spare change because he always used cash. He's like old school in that way. And all the extra change he would put in this Folgers jar. And when it got to be full, he would always give it to me. And then I would go to like the coin service thing at the grocery store and cash it in and be like $20 and be so excited. And so he lived with us, and like even as an adult, he would still do that.
Yeah.
He would still give me this Folgers jar, and I would legit take it to go cash it in at Publix, and we'd be like, we got $30. Like, let's put gas in the car.
How many times did that bail us out?
I know, which is insane to think about, right? Yeah. Like, but that's kind of like where we were. So I'm over here with these big dreams, and you're like, bro, like I hear you, but like Dave better like get that Folgers jar supersized.
Is Dave coming with us?
Yeah, like who's paying for all this? So,
who's fronting this?
So that's like in the beginning, it was very much like you were always open, but never saw the possibility. I didn't see a possibility, but I was like a dreamer, and I'm like, we're gonna figure this out.
Well, that's really interesting that you laid that out, because we've told this story multiple times, and I don't know why. I always wondered, because it was never like I never wanted to, but the way you just painted that picture, you're right. It was always something that was tugging at my soul, and there was so many things that I just didn't know, and I never actually took the time to research it either, which is kind of interesting, right? Because you were a big reader, you were always like searching, and thank God, because like I said at the beginning, I thought an entrepreneur was somebody who owned a restaurant, and I thought people that travel were millionaires that have retired.
I think a lot of people think that.
Well, right. And so I'm like, you have to be a multimillionaire to just travel the world. And so there's no way that we'll ever be able to do that. We can take a weekend vacation, maybe. But like at that time, my biggest dream, remember, was like I wanted to go and watch a full game at a sports bar and be able to order wings and beer and sit there and like watch the game and not have to worry about the game being too long and the bill being too high. Like it's just the thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where I was at the time.
I remember our friends, Dana and Jared, who were like, it was like a Saturday, and they're like, hey guys, like let's go bowling.
For their birthday.
Yep. And we were like, and how much is bowling? Like I don't even know. Like back then it was probably like $10. Like nothing crazy, and we wanted to go so bad. And I remember just being like, you guys, like we can't go. Like we literally have no money, and it's not even that we didn't have money. It's not like we could just be like, oh, just put it on the credit card, babe. Like, well, we couldn't even put it on a credit card because all of our credit cards are maxed out. Like we didn't have anything extra. And they were like, we'll pay for you guys. Like, we just want you to come. And I remember they paid for us to go bowling, and like we couldn't even afford to go. And again, we're talking about both of us working good careers
in a hospital.
We went to college for, working in healthcare, right? Like good job. Like I'm doing quotes, like good jobs. They were good jobs. Like quote unquote, a decent living, taking call. You had no time off. Like you worked your ass off on call, and we couldn't afford to go bowling. Like it was just a crazy
Remember when they
concept.
handed us a 20 under the table, Jared did, and he was like, go get yourself like a beer and a snack.
I
know. We need to send them. We say it all the time.
I know.
Just need to send something to them.
Or just like take them out bowling
Yeah.
when we get home.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of, where we were coming from. And like, I remember, so when we made the decision to start traveling, okay, I'm talking about healthcare traveling.
Yeah.
So we had been married for a year, right? Because we got married in 2010 we got married. We moved into our house. Okay. We bought this house.
Well, we got married in November of 2010, and then we started traveling August of 2012. So
Okay.
it wasn't like a full...
So like a year and a half, essentially.
Basically.
So we get into this house, which by the way, like I freaking love that house. Like I really love it. I look at pictures of her and sometimes just cry. Like,
I mean, minus the paint job, but yeah. Like in our room.
That's
Yeah.
a whole that's a
Horrible.
That's because we had no idea what we were doing. But yeah, that day I still look at that house and I'm like, if we would have we sold that 13 years ago, and now it's worth like over $500,000. Like we would be millionaires.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
But we were living in this house in this kind of place, and we were both like, just I don't really know what to do, but I want to do something different, whatever. Just kind of looking for something, looking for a change.
God, we were...
Again, going back to the fact that like we were both on the same page. So even though we didn't know, we didn't have this like big picture vision of how we could get there. We felt very stuck because we were in these jobs, and we talked about doing some other things, but it was just like, well, how? Like, or going back to school and doing this, and we weren't sure at all how, but we both were on the same page of like wanting something different for ourselves.
Yeah,
and being open to figuring out what that could look like.
Yeah, I know. We were just throwing pizza at the wall. Like, should we open an adult rec center? Should you go back to school to be a writer? Should I go to PA school? Should I go to perfusion school? We'd have to move to Illinois. Like, I was going to be a rep. Like, we were just throwing out all these things. But I guess like everything, what I love about what we did there was we realized that none of those things sounded good because it didn't fit the parameters that we actually saw for our lives. And what those 5 parameters were was what we put into it, we get out of. We were location independent, which was crazy because that's not even like a thing that we even really understood. But like we wanted to be creative and work together and do work that we absolutely love. And I didn't want to have somebody telling me when I could take a lunch.
Yeah.
And like, but we didn't know what that was.
No, we had no clue. We had no clue about any of that at that point. It was just more about like, and it's easy to look back in retrospect too and be like, but I think even at the time, even though I feel like, were we even articulating that out loud? Like,
Yes.
I feel like, were we?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm like, I don't remember being that specific. I just knew I wanted something different.
Yeah. Whoa.
What's that? Are you getting called in?
No.
Okay. So anyway, so what I was going to say though was we were both on the same page about wanting something different, but not knowing what all that looked like. So I think when it comes to a relationship, even though we both didn't know what the heck to do, but there was an openness from both of us, right? To kind of explore possibility. If I would have said, I want to go travel, or I want to do something different, or like living in this house and kind of being house poor, but like, just kind of staying in the same place we've always been, like, I want something bigger, and I feel like there's something else out there. And you were just like, no, like that's not at all what I want. Or I just want to stay put, or I'm too scared to try something different. Like, we've built a life here, and we have friends here and family here and all this. Like, it's interesting because like we didn't have to explore that, luckily, because we were on the same page. But I wonder if that would have been one of those moments that we just would have grew in separate ways, because I don't feel like I would have just been okay just being like, sure, like I'll just stay here and pop out some babies and Like, you know what I mean?
So-
I just don't think I would have been down for that.
No, I kind of wanted to dive into that because I do think that, like, one thing that we did was we established early on that you were the person that I wanted to be with. Period. End of story. We'll get through this life together because life's way more fun with you than without you, right?
Aww.
And so we had that relationship where we quickly grew to best friends because we were best friends for 3 months before we even actually got together in an actual relationship. So we built as friends first. So like that was pretty solid going into the marriage, right? And I think through hard times and bad and good, we really always just talked it out almost too much. And so I do believe that when we had that groundwork established of it doesn't really matter what it is, I just kind of want to like do it with you and we'll figure this out together. Like there was no other option, right? But I do think when it comes down to things, number one, I know that you're a very vocal person. I am as well. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And like you said, there's only two options, right? Like you either, somebody is miserable within the relationship, which if you're not emotionally intelligent enough to tell that your partner is miserable and you could be the cause of that, which I believe that not really, because you would have the ability to like make that choice, but it is hard. But I do believe that you and I both are the type of people that would be like, this isn't working and this is what I want to go after. And I'm sorry, but we've kind of grown apart and we're no longer going to be together. This isn't going to work.
Yeah, no, obviously. But, well, not obviously, but like,
Right.
yeah, I think when I'm like, I feel, again, I don't want to go down too, because there's so many different topics just layered even in just like this one thing. Because I feel like, I just lost my train of thought.
We were talking about either going opposite directions or
Oh,
whatever. But yeah.
that like, you know, we've been married, like we said, for 17 years, right, at the time of this recording, and I was 25 when we got married. And, you know, people say like, when you get married in your 20s, like, how do you make that work? Or like, you're so young, you know, you're still figuring yourself out. When we first got together, I was 21, like you were 25. Babies, you know, now it's like we look back like, oh my God, we were so young.
We were high school sweethearts.
Which is, I know, it just like that ages us so much. It's insane. But I also feel like those are those moments where it's like you either like grow and evolve together and you're both committed to your own personal growth and then growing together, or you grow apart. Mm-hmm. And it can go either direction, but I think you and I always knew like we were committed and we were like ride or dies, and we both committed to doing our own personal work and our own growth at different times, which is a whole nother story of just all the crazy ups and downs and whatever. But I think that's why we always grew together, or we didn't go completely opposite directions, because we were both just like willing to do the work to like do it together.
Yeah, totally.
But anyways, so
Yeah.
coming home.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think we're establishing here too is I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm interested if you agree.
Okay.
Then and now. Because I feel like maybe it's still true. I feel like I'm the one in the relationship that has these crazy ideas. And you're the one who's always down to do anything. You're just like, okay, that sounds fucking great. Right? Like, do you think that's true then and now? Because I think even now I'm the one who's like, let's freaking do something crazy. And you're sure, why not?
You know what's funny is you are the weird, out of left field, crazy idea with no real kind of way to make it work other than let's just go and figure it out. And then I'm like, hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm the idea guy when it comes down to, but I think my ideas are based in somewhat practicality, which then you flip into how to get there, which is really funny how that comes out to like big life decisions. But I think it boils down to you are a gut feeling person. Mm-hmm. And the minute you get a burning in your gut, it might be 3 or 4 days. And then you just come busting through the door with an idea and you sell it so well because you're so passionate about it that I'm like, that, what you just said, like, hell yeah, like, let's go.
Yeah.
Because I think I come from a place of like, I'm always down for when somebody's like, hey, let's go try this or let's go check this out. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Like, we didn't have that plan. That could be the coolest thing that's ever happened, right?
You're super spontaneous.
Never
and just
know.
Down.
I'm just down to like try something new. Like, you know, people are like, oh, we had a plan to go to this restaurant, but like, look at this hole in the wall. Let's go see what that's about. And it could be a total bust, but we don't know. And so that's kind of my thing. And you paint this crazy picture of like something I never thought possible. And then you paint it in a way that it kind of is possible. And all you got to do is say yes and go. And so I'm like, yeah, like, let's go. But I think I'm more rooted in the analytics of it, which is weird. But I'm also the idea guy when it comes down to like business and things like that.
Yeah, no, I think we're both like idea people and visionaries in different ways. But I think when it comes to these like life things, and honestly, I think that's so true. Is like, I'm such a gut intuitive person. I am driven by intuition. And if I have a gut feeling, and again, I don't ever present something to you unless I have been in it for a minute. Like,
I know that.
Oh, in it for a minute. Like, I'm never just like, oh, bing, 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 bing. Like, let me tell you everything. Like,
that's me.
Yeah, you're like, let me like tell you everything in my brain right this second. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so many thoughts, like 1,000 thoughts in a second. And you just want to get them out. When it's something big, I have thought about it. Like, I have felt it. I have journaled about it. I've been in my feels with it. And then I'll like present it to you. So by the time I've presented it,
it's figured out.
My bags are like packed. Like, I'm already going. And because I know you're going to be like, let's do it.
I also come from the camp that I've always said this to you, even when we first started dating, that I could literally be watching the sky falling and like have proof of like, no, look, it's falling. And you would look at me calmly and just be like, we're okay. And then I'd be like, yeah, okay, cool, we're okay. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, I've just always felt that way. There's always this comfort because your gut instincts are never wrong.
Well, they're okay.
I wouldn't call them wrong. They might not be.
They've led us into a little trouble here and there, but everything's an opportunity to learn.
Which that's another motto, right? Yeah. So we have all of these things that like, we truly believe this stuff, that it didn't work out, but we learned from it. And look where we're like, yeah, we took a long road, a lot of the scenic drive, but look at what we've learned along the way. And that to me is life lessons, right?
100%.
That's experiences that most people don't get because they stay stuck.
I prefer the scenic route.
Totally.
Like, look at all the cool shit we've seen.
Why take a highway somewhere when you can take a scenic route and see things you've never seen before?
I couldn't agree more. So, okay.
Although there are times to get there, right? I believe in that too. Like, there's a time to get on the expressway and go.
Yeah.
So, we're kind of both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. More scenic.
All right, get into the whole, like, the craziness of you, some examples.
So, and if you've been listening to our podcast for a long time or been following us, and you already know this, if you're new here, welcome.
Well, this is the first week of our new show.
I know, that's why I'm saying that.
So you just said if you've listened to our podcast a long time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant our old podcast, Travcess, which was geared towards more healthcare travelers, because that's what we are. But when we decided to start traveling, in healthcare, again, we were kind of trying to figure out what the F we were going to do with our life. My stepdad's living with us, giving us freaking change.
And buying us pizzas on Friday.
$10 pies, and those were the best damn pizzas. Shout out to Milano's in Jack's Beach, baby.
Get it.
$10, and he was just so good to us.
I know, and he would splurge and get us the oh my gosh, what's that cheese that we would get? Ricotta. Yep.
It'd
be like a $12 pizza.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We like lived off.
We didn't charge him rent or anything, so he would give us his Folgers.
He paid us a little bit.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, our mortgage was like $1,500, I think. Yeah. I think we gave.
Oh my God.
No,
We pay more than that now in this little shoebox.
And at the time, we're like, oh my God, this is so expensive. Like, what are we doing? It's so crazy to think of that now. I'm like, $1,500 for a mortgage, a 4-bedroom, beautiful home near the beach.
7 miles from the beach.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. That was 2010. So I go into work.
Got called in on a Sunday.
And I was literally slamming the steering wheel. I think didn't we come from the gym or something? We
went to the beach.
Oh, that's right. Oh yeah, we were just trying to enjoy a nice Sunday at the beach.
My one day off.
Chilling, yeah. And I got called in. I remember we had to drive back home so I could change, and I was literally like punching the fucking walls because I'm like, I never. So I had to take call, but I never took call on the weekends because it was a backup call. Like it wasn't. We had somebody working, so you just got called in if they needed you, and it never happened. So I'm like what in the this is so messed up.
I just want my free money.
Right. Like I'm here just to like collect the paycheck, not actually go in and like do the work. Like it was offensive. Mm-hmm. Like I was pissed. And so we go home. I go into work. And by the time I got there, who knows what happened, but like patients had canceled, things happened. There was like literally nothing to do. And one of the girls who was there, or the girl who was there working, I hadn't seen her in a long time. So we were just like catching up, and she told me she was going to start traveling. And long story short, I was like, just tell me everything. I had never heard of this before. And she was packing up her family, which is crazy that she had 2 kids and a husband, and like was going to go do this crazy travel thing. And so anyways, I'm like, we finished the conversation. I'm driving home. It was like a 20-minute drive. And I'm just like, this is it. It was like that gut feeling where I'm like, this sounds like a total scam, but like this is it for us, you know? It seems too good to be true. And then I came home and I walk in. I think were you on your swing? But I was like, we need to talk, like stat. And we go outside to your swing because that's where you do all your good thinking and talking. And I was like, listen, we're going to sell this house, quit our jobs.
Sell everything we own.
Literally. And we're going to start this like travel thing that like could be a scam. We might lose everything. But it sounds like a really cool adventure.
And you said this sounds like the restart button that we need. This gets us out. We get to travel. According to her, you make way more money than you make working full time. You don't have to usually take call. It's this whole thing, and you get to work for 3 months and take as much time off as you want, and then you get to pick another contract and you get to go, and it could be in another state or wherever. I don't really know, but it sounds like it's a thing, and apparently ultrasound is needed.
Yeah, ultrasound and IR were hot jobs.
Which we found out the next day on Monday because we had to wait to call to figure it all out. But
when I told you, again, because I was like nervous because I was like, oh,
you were sold.
I really want to do this, but like it kind of sounds crazy. It didn't really make sense on paper, but I just knew. I just freaking knew. It was like one of those things, and I'm like, I really hope he doesn't think I'm crazy, and he's just like, there's something in him too that like feels it. And you were just like, let's do it. And it was kind of one of those things too, is you're just like, what do we have to lose?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a bad spot
like,
right now.
But also everything. Because like, we'd love to
But that's funny.
the house.
I didn't feel that way though. Because it felt like the house was like a dead end, and we were just.
That house.
No, I loved the house in hindsight, but at the time, like, you know, it's like we moved in, the refrigerator broke, and then this, and then like just home ownership, right? Like, yeah. And so it was like, man, we didn't have the extra money to fix. I mean, I went on YouTube for hours and learned how to like fix the motherboard of the refrigerator myself, which is great skills, right?
Time like that.
Oh, I know, but like to the point of it just started to feel really overwhelming, and it just felt like a dead end, and it was one thing after another.
And also, whoa, what's that? Also, because we.
God, what are you, like a squirrel?
Well, it's like money, like cha-chinging. Yeah. Also, because we didn't have the money to fix the things. That was the other stressor, right? Because like when you own a home, you want to be able to fix the refrigerator or the air conditioning or all the things. We didn't have the money to do that. So that was also super stressful. But yeah, we were like leaving our jobs and, again, our jobs were at the time, it's funny now because where we used to work, like now they're like paying people like these crazy bonuses to come work because they can't find anybody. Also because it's crazy low paying. Like why would you ever stay at that, working like that and like making no money? But at the time, there were people waiting for our job. So it's not like we could just be like, oh, let's take a contract and then
come back. And
then like, oh, it's sorry, it didn't work out. Can we have our jobs back? Like that wasn't going to happen. So there was definitely risks involved. But we were both just like pros and cons. Like cons were, 100 and pros were like, I don't know.
This could be the best decision
right.
we ever
And
made.
we were just like, we have to listen to our hearts. We have to. And again, everybody around us, right? Because when you do something different, when you're going against the grain, and back then, this was 2012, so we didn't have as much of this like unconventional living or like van life or like let's travel the world.
No social media.
Let's be nomadic. Yeah, like remote work. Like it was very much kind of at least the bubble we were in, right? With our friends and family. It was very much like you went to your job, you went to work, you had your home, people were starting to have kids. We would do Sunday barbecues with friends or, like that was kind of like what life was. And so we were doing something completely different, blowing up our whole life essentially. And people around us were concerned. Mm-hmm. Like they were like, you guys, this is a huge mistake. And our families were supportive, but there was also a lot of like, are you sure? Like, are y'all like, what are you doing? And you're leaving your big job as a lead and like, but you were definitely on the track to be, manager, director.
I mean, it sounds
they
like
were
Office
you.
Space, It's like, yeah.
You would be like the director of radiology.
No, I would
probably
not.
At this
I would have
point.
had to go back to school and all that
Oh,
stuff.
does director have to have a degree?
Yeah.
A bachelor's?
Yeah.
You would have done that, I'm sure.
Probably.
But yeah, it was a big thing. And it's funny because, again, even though everybody around us was saying that, you and I as this just like united front, we're just like, we're going to do it.
Yeah, don't care.
We're going to freaking do it.
We'll figure it out.
And now all those people are like, they're like taking our course. They're like, how do I become a healthcare traveler? Like, holy shit, like y'all had it right the whole time,
People asking us like to come over to have dinner to explain like what could happen. Like,
it's funny how that works.
I know. But it was crazy because I was in 2012, we set out and, obviously 13 years later it was the best decision we ever made because of like what it opened up to. So again, I've also said, hindsight really does, it's 2020, but it can also be something that you really learn from, and your gut instinct said we gotta go. And there's so many cons, not many pros, but I really feel that this could be the turning point in our lives. And we've talked about this before, as it was almost back in the day when Office Depot or Office Max, one of those, had like the easy button and you click it and it was like a restart. Like, this is easy. Like
I didn't know about that.
That's what it felt like, is the reset button, right? Like on life. Like we got to get rid of all the, major things that could cause us to go into more debt. We kind of had a clean slate-ish, and we were going into something that allowed us to make more money but gave us more time, which is what we always wanted. We just need more time, and we need more influence to figure out what it is that we truly want to do, because we knew at that point, that was another thing. We both agreed that we did not want to live in Florida forever, but we had just bought a house. So we weren't figuring out how that was going to work. And those were like gut things that we were feeling. Yeah. And so this kind of checked all the boxes to give us that restart.
100%. Best decision ever. And there's so many stories upon stories upon stories within this journey. But I think just me having this like, quote unquote crazy idea and you just being down and us not listening to all the crazy around us, or not crazy, but people projecting their own fears and uncertainty onto us. But we were able to just be like, let's freaking go, babe. Like, we got this.
Yeah.
And
I kind of wanted to tell the crazier one. So literally,
Okay.
we leave in August of 2012 to go travel. We did like 3 or 4 contracts, and we actually settled down for a really long time.
2 years.
2 years in Palo Alto when we opened our fitness business.
Oh, that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story where I wanted a brick and
Listen.
mortar, and Kim's gut was saying, I don't want to be tied to anything.
This is, okay, we'll save this one for like another episode, but this is a time that we were not on the same page.
Oh, yeah.
We were not on the same page.
It's very true.
I was like conforming to what you wanted and actually wasn't listening to my gut. And I wish I would have, because it would have saved us many years.
And a lot of money.
And so much money. But we can come back to that another time.
Totally. So basically we still went with what you said in the end.
In the end.
And we had this itch and we're like, you know what? Let's get back on the road. Let's start traveling again. And we literally went to Seattle. We both had contracts and we were trying to salvage our quote unquote fitness business.
But you missed the whole part of, because we settled down in the Bay Area because we thought that was going to be our home because we loved it. Remember, we had sold all of our stuff from our Florida home. Now we're like, okay, we live in, the Bay Area now. This is home. And so we went out and we bought couches and beds and like we bought stuff for a home, right? Like we're not traveling anymore. This is what we're doing. So when we decided to start traveling again, like meaning taking a contract, we literally packed up a U-Haul.
Massive one.
And drove it up the Oregon coast, which was so beautiful.
That was cool.
Yes. With your mom driving our car in the back. Mm-hmm. And we lugged all of that up to Seattle. So now we're living in Seattle. We're both taking a contract. Mm-hmm. And we have an apartment full of all of our stuff.
Not only our stuff, but a massive amount of fitness equipment that we had taken because we used to run circuits in the park with kettlebells. We had like a 900-pound gorilla wagon and timers and battle ropes and mats and so
much good stuff.
So much good stuff. But
how many pounds of kettlebells do you think we had?
We had close to 800 pounds because I needed the 900-pound gorilla to be able to lug it all out to the park.
That was great stuff, man.
It was good. And
shout out to Get Fit From Within, baby.
Which Gritter Done / Get Fit From Within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. But
that's vintage, Gritter Done.
I actually came across that logo the other day and I was like, oh my God.
It's a great logo.
It was just Mimi with a kettlebell.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was freaking sick.
Yeah. So obviously it's kind of the you never know until you go kind of thing. We've tried a lot of stuff. And so being that this is like the first kind of episode of this podcast, we don't want to give it all away and shoot our load.
Well, no, soon. It would be a week-long podcast of us not talking or of us talking the whole time because there's way too many stories and a nuance. All
right. So anyway, this is the best one. So we're finally getting back settled in. We realize that, you know what, like maybe the fitness business is not our thing. Maybe we should create courses now, spiritual courses. And like, we're just always searching for ideas. So literally, I'll never forget, Kim was coaching. She was doing like grocery store tours.
You keep missing parts.
Okay, well then go ahead, babe.
Because I feel like you
just tell the story.
Okay. So, no, I'll pass it back, but just I like to fill in the gaps.
Okay,
of
fill in the gaps.
So, we realized too with the fitness business that we didn't want to have to physically be somewhere.
Yeah.
And what?
It's funny. But
and like have people there,
we would hope that they would cancel.
No, we're like, please cancel. Because we're also doing personal training in our garage. And we were like, they would be walking up. We just like close the garage. It would say like closed. We're like, but we can see you. Yeah. Like I'm here for my workout.
What do you mean it's closed? This is like you guys' like house. Like
like something happened. We're always canceling. We're like the worst, dude. So we realized that again, we gave it a try. It wasn't for us.
We were passionate about health and fitness, but we realized we were not passionate about other people's health and fitness journeys. Right? Like I don't want to be responsible for like yelling in your ear and like being like, come on, like 10 more, like let's do it.
Like, we don't care.
No, I want everybody to be healthy, but I don't care enough to like put a business on it. And I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah. We realized it wasn't for us. So then I went over to Gabby Bernstein's Spirit Junkie Masterclass. This was such a turn for us in our entire life. And we can do like a whole ep on that actually. But I learned about online business. And that wasn't, again, this seems
2015.
This seems so like silly now to even say, but back then it was so new. Nobody knew about it. Like you would talk to people like, what are you, like, are you like a scammer? Are you in a pyramid scheme? Are you in a cult? Like, are you okay? Like it wasn't a thing that people were doing, right? And so that dove us in to all these other worlds of people who were doing like health coaching or business coaching or life coaching, creating courses. Like this was all revolutionary then at this time.
I remember you came home and you're like, there's this Derek Halpern guy and he's talking about an email list where you put people on a list and you apparently send out, and the goal is to get people on your email list. And like, I was like, what are you talking
for what?
Like, for what? Like, why?
Like, yeah.
Just be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just no clue. Like, just, it was all so new.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I didn't even know what a course was.
No.
And so I learned all of this stuff. And like, then once you start becoming part of that world, right, you realize there's like this whole world that exists that you didn't even know about, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, all these people are doing courses and they're coaching
There's
and all this
tons
shit.
of people out there.
Yeah. And so then it became like, oh, now we're just kind of a part of this world. And so I went to school. I became like a health coach and just doing all kinds of different stuff. And also started following somebody who I really loved, who was coaching. She was creating courses. I met her actually at Gabby Bernstein's masterclass in New York. And she was moving to Bali. And she was running her business from Bali. And was this when we were watching YouTube videos?
It was.
Okay.
Christian.
Okay.
Los LeBlanc.
So we also went down this rabbit hole of vloggers, which again was new.
2015.
God, we could have been one of them. Like,
We realized, anyway.
okay. But Christian LeBlanc, who's still on YouTube, he's got great freaking videos on Southeast Asia and travel and stuff. Still kicking. He was traveling all over Southeast Asia and Bali specifically. And so we kind of were diving into that world. And I didn't even know like where Bali was. Like what's Bali? Like, right? Like no clue. At this point, oh no, we had been to Europe, but we hadn't done a lot of international.
We did a cruise.
Yeah, that's true.
We went on a carnival cruise.
That's true.
To the Mediterranean. Cool.
Hey, we got to see a lot of shit.
Cool.
Don't knock Carnival.
No,
okay?
I agree. I mean, we didn't even get off the boat in the Spanish islands. Like,
Well, that
so
was
we were
one time.
newbies.
We were hungover.
Yeah.
I was throwing up.
True.
But at this point, we had only been to Europe. We went to Jamaica
And Dominican
Republic, and so we hadn't been anywhere really international. So, like, what's Bali? But then we started diving into this whole world. Okay, so I wanted to just set that tone because it wasn't like it just came out of nowhere. You and I were like dipping our toes in this kind of world.
But you also said at the beginning of the episode that you ponder something and you spend days on it and then you come out and explode. So obviously, yes, you just painted the picture that you just didn't you just didn't go to drive to work. From my point of view, you drove to work one day, had a long day at work, and come busting in the door, and Kim says, "Hey, I need you to sit down." And I'm like, oh God, here we go. Because we, at that point, because we were full-time, because we bought all this stuff for our fitness business, we were kind of like wondering what the next goal is. And honestly, again, the through line to all of this is Kim and I have always wanted to own and operate our own business. Period, end of story.
Doing work we love.
Yeah,
making a difference.
And so if we didn't love it, we weren't going to continue it. Because to be honest with you, if you are going to start a business, you better love it because that's what gets you through the hard times. And you realize very quickly when things get hard if you love it or not. Mm-hmm. And so we realized that early, and we were just like, what are we doing? We're in another kind of seesaw moment, right? And so Kim busts through the door and she says, I need you to sit down. And I was actually getting really excited because we both were working a contract. We were bringing in a lot of money. It was like going into savings. We were watching the savings climb. It was a really good feeling. So I'm like, okay, like we're saving up our money. We're going to do good things. Right when I start to feel good about our savings, here comes Kim. And she pops in the door. She's like, you're going to think I'm crazy.
I feel like that's how I start like most conversations.
What if, and hear me out. What if we sell everything we own
Again.
and we just move to Bali?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, she's like, no, we
Forever.
We moved to Bali. It's super cheap there. People are doing it. It's a thing. We should do it too. And we should do it now.
Yeah.
And we're talking, this is October. She's talking end of contract, December 16th of that same year. Kim and I are going to literally sell everything we own.
Again.
Fly back to Florida and leave from Florida, drop Mimi off, and literally, apparently, move and leave Mimi forever.
Okay, obviously we knew we weren't going to go there forever, but like my whole vision was that, okay, I all my quote unquote friends online were doing it. So I was like, with the money we have, okay, and we had paid off all of our debts, like we were like, and we had money and savings, like we were in a good place. So I was like, with all the money we have, that money could last us a really long time in Bali, right? Because at the time, Bali was really cheap. It's a lot more expensive now, but we could live there and have this like really cool travel experience, and we could create a course on like spirituality and like health and wellness and relationships.
And we can film the whole thing and put it on YouTube like Christian LeBlanc.
No, this was, okay, vlogging is one thing, but also creating a course that we could sell. Remember, we had the call with the ham, and she was helping us map out our spiritual relationship course.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to create this course, and then we're going to sell this course. And oh my God, we're going to make so much money because, you know, she's making all this money. This is what we're going to do. And we're going to live in Bali, and we're going to do it. And like, oh my God. And you were like, okay. See, I love that.
But then you also painted the
sign
picture
me up, baby.
that I could get a camera and I could start filming our adventures, and then I can edit the videos because we were editing our workout videos and putting them on our membership for our workout business. And I had learned how to edit, and you were like, you could edit cool travel videos. And that's how you could spend your creativity while we create this course.
Yeah. And we're basically going to become vloggers, and that's going to help us grow our audience. And then through that, we'll sell our spiritual relationship, health, and wellness course.
Done.
We're like, we're going to be millionaires. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the best idea we've ever had. Mm-hmm. Bali, here we come. Mm-hmm. Like, let's freaking go. And so once again, we gave everything away. Like, all that workout equipment cost thousands of dollars probably. Yeah. We just like gave it to a girl for what, like $200?
$250.
She was starting her own personal trainers.
Good. I hope she's crushing it.
I know, because that was like good stuff too. We got rid of everything again. And in January, we flew to Bali, which is a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But I think like...
Remember when you came downstairs one time? Because we had this 2-story kind of like homestay where this guy in Bali.
Oh, yeah.
And at
you were reading the course.
Right. Excuse me. But I was working on our spiritual course. And then Kim came down and sat down, and we were having coffee, which was absolutely cool, because what I think like we learned in that process is, one, we had always been working. And so this was the first time we were just waking up on a Monday and not having anywhere to go. And we were just hanging out in Bali and just kind of like, what do you want to do now? And so having that time to really think and get clear, I just remember you came down and I was like, hey, so if we create this spiritual course, like, who are we going to sell it to?
We're like,
And you were like, oh my
no,
God.
we knew we were going to be vlogging to grow the audience. That was the plan.
Right, but it was just realization of just like what are we doing? So then we just pivoted.
I feel like that's a whole nother story. Like we should tell like the whole Bali story.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like a really cool of all the things that came up from that.
True.
I don't want to like get into that now because we're already like
I don't even know.
But so I feel like that's a great just its own ep because there's so many nuances. But I feel like
we're gonna have to listen back to this and take notes on what eps we said we're gonna like create out of this.
We're like we have all
everything's an ep, so stay tuned.
So
Everything's an ep.
People are like, you said you were gonna like, we just never do.
Yeah.
No, we are, because I love like I cannot wait to talk about that because it was. Let's just say that went absolutely not the direction we thought it was gonna go, but. In hindsight, oh my God, it was the best thing that ever happened.
Best thing.
But not at the time.
Literally is still in connection with what we do now.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is crazy.
But again, the takeaway, not even the takeaway, but I think just having these huge moments in our life where we're just like, I come up with some crazy idea. I feel like we just had one.
We did. You literally were like, okay... After all of that reset, we waited until almost, it was 2020. We
oh, God.
And you were like, okay, this has never left me, and I have to do this. I need to travel for 1 full year. 365 days. We're leaving. We're going to vlog the whole thing. We're going to be vloggers. We're going to give it another go. And this time we're set up. We understand it more. And we're going to launch our backpacks. And we're going to do it through our vlog. But I have to travel for 365 days, period, end of story. No questions asked.
Oh my God.
Even if it gets hard, we're going 365.
Yeah, like no matter what. Like we're never giving up. Like this is what we're doing.
We were home in 3 months.
Well, COVID happened.
That's true. But we took another shot.
We started in 2020.
But we took another shot after COVID.
Yeah. Which is such a great example of, again, gut feeling. You feel like you really like feel called to do something, right? It is something that's like never left me. And like you see people traveling the world for a year and doing all this stuff. And again, I think there's something about that, like you can romanticize it and all this stuff. And like, but it was like something I kept feeling like, oh God, I really want to do this. And it was like, until we actually set out to go do that, you never know until you go. You don't realize that like, okay, traveling's freaking amazing, but also you and I are not 20, 25 anymore. And I don't want to be traveling for 1 year. Like I would rather go really hard and do because also when you're traveling for a year, you are on a very tight budget, right? So it's a completely different experience. Yeah. Like we're not like broke backpackers, like staying in hostel beds. Like we're, a couple in our 30s, like, it's a completely different vibe where I was like, okay, I would rather go really hard and travel for like a month and do all this cool stuff, but then come back and like be back in routine and back in life versus saving up X amount of dollars and then like living really cheaply and just be go, go, go. And who knows, that could change next year. Like we change our minds all the time, but we went and tried it and then realized we were like, I don't think this is for us.
Yeah.
But I'm like, let's go, man. Also, I would like to say we were launching a backpack and that was so freaking stressful. And that's a whole nother episode. Oh, God. But that played a huge role in why we came home. So if it wasn't about that, who knows?
You think?
Nah, I don't know. We probably would have came home anyway.
Totally.
We probably would have wanted to come home anyway.
We were hitting our wall.
Yeah. And we were running out of money.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah. But I wonder, okay, we'll leave it at this. Oh
God, don't be planting another seed, please. Like, I'm good with where we are. I'm really loving it.
Listen, if it wasn't about money, because obviously that drives a lot. Like you can travel for a year if you have the money to do so, but if you don't, like that changes plans and whatever. It changes the way you travel 100% too. But if it wasn't about money, so like you just had all the money coming in, you could live wherever you wanted, you could travel for however long you wanted. It was nothing about that. And you could travel in the way you wanted to, right? So again, we're not bougie or luxury travelers, but I'm also not crashing in a hostel, right? So we have to be comfortable. We have to have necessities, things that comforts, right?
Yeah, we go off the beaten path, but then we like bougie to recover.
Yeah, like spas and like a nice
and then get
bed.
off the beaten path again and then come back.
Yeah, we like a mix.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you want to travel for a year?
No.
Okay, dang. You just...
Buddy, we realize that. We've been gone running our Travis trips for like 3 or 4 months, and we cannot wait to crawl back home. Like,
that's true.
I need like a break back in the United States. There's nothing like when you're like, bing, welcome back to United States and New York, and blah, 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 and you're just like, oh, we're home.
It gets my jollies off.
And then literally in 2 weeks, I'm ready to go again. But like, I need that. We've realized we need that like settling time. I don't want to just like sit in a hotel in Singapore and just sleep, right? Like, I'd rather just come home.
Agreed.
Get back in a routine, get back in the gym, eat the stuff I want, and then get back on the road.
100%.
So yeah, I'm not a year-long travel guy.
Yeah, stay tuned. We tend to change our minds a lot, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you've made it this far, thanks for listening. We have so many fun topics, so many things that we want to share about. As you can see, we've got a lot of EPs that we're going to be dropping. So if you would please share this out with a friend, anybody, a healthcare traveler, a non-healthcare traveler, a friend, anybody who likes to travel, or anyone who's just like, even maybe in a transition in their life, or wanting to try something new, but like feels nervous or feels unsure, because we totally get that. It's like so many times we've stepped out of our comfort zone and being so scared and being like uncomfortable, but like it's worked out, or sometimes it hasn't. But we get that. So it's like sharing it with anybody you feel like could resonate with this episode would mean so much to us.
Yeah. Definitely not for the person that is okay with just kind of chilling. It's not really. We are like, let's push the boundary. Let's go. Let's figure it out. And, maybe that's been a voice in somebody that you know, but they just need that push. Then this is the spot.
Yeah. And please let us know what you think about the episode, or your relationship dynamic. Like, is there one person in your relationship that has crazy ideas and the other person's like down? Do you have where it's like maybe you're on different pages? Are you on the same page? Like, we just would love to hear from the community. So you can always DM us. Well, you can leave us a review. Thanks.
Well, we also
you can also DM us at Kim and Erran G, KIMANDERRANG
I love
on
that.
Instagram. And please let us know.
Yeah. And there's also a link on top of this where you can click it and kind of send us a little text on this fan page.
Oh, I didn't even know that was like a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have to talk more about that. Yeah. I don't want to have like millions of things to do. So anyways, find us over on Instagram. Thank you for listening. We're so grateful that you're here. We have so much exciting stuff to come, and we love you. Thank you. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Toots.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and we hope that you really, really enjoyed it.
And if you did love this episode, can you please do us a huge favor and just share this with one of your friends? Like, just somebody that you think will get value from this episode. It would mean so much to us.
Yeah, like do it now. Like, while you're inspired, go now.
Like right this second.
Yeah,
go. Or just like share it on your Instagram story and tag us at Kim and Erran G so that we can see it, and thank you personally for helping us share this message, share this episode, and blow this baby up.
Yeah, help spread the obsession.
Ooh.
You can do that.
Let's get obsessed.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much. We are so grateful to be on this journey with you, and we will see you next week.
Bye.